Hi, welcome to week 3. At this point in the persuasive speech assignment, you should be close to, if not already finished, with your research and starting to figure out how to put your outline together. So we are continuing to work on our persuasive speeches this week. There are 4 chapters for you to read. Chapter 10 covers beginning and ending your speech. Chapter 11 talks about outlining the speech. Chapter 16 is speaking to persuade, and then chapter 17 is methods of persuasion. There are some related course videos you might want to check out. These are the introduction conclusion videos and the persuasion videos. You also could go back and look again at the thesis videos, transition videos, and organization videos, because this is the week that you will be submitting your outline. So you want to make sure that you understand exactly how to do all of that. Because you're going to be submitting your outline, I want to make sure that you understand the different parts of the outline template. This outline template you are completely writing on your own. There is no help in terms of wording or language. What is there on the template is the structural elements that need to be there for your speech. So when you are creating your outlines, make sure that you do not delete any of the elements or the labels. So you should just download the template from DocSharing and then fill it in. Don't delete anything. This will help you avoid losing unnecessary points for not having your transitions there, not having the right labels there. It also helps me grade a little easier because I'm not sitting there going, is this his attention getter, or is this her transition, or is this her main point? I don't know what I'm looking at here. So the type of outline that you choose does depend on what you think the best organizational pattern for your topic, for your purpose, what you want your audience to be convinced about, whether you want them to change their beliefs about a fact, or if you want them to actually do something, if you think a policy should be put in place. All of those have the different organization patterns that work best for convincing your audience of what you want. There are some common elements, though, and these are the introductions and the conclusions. Every speech that you do, there's going to be 5 things that you do in your introduction. One is the attention getter. That's the first thing. This is the statement that is going to grab your audience's attention. There are a bunch of ways that you can do this that the beginning and ending the speech chapter talks about. But the one cardinal rule you need to remember about attention getters is you don't say anything before the attention getter. Every time you start your speech, you start it with the attention getter. So don't introduce yourself. Don't say thanks for coming or thanks for watching. Don't say before I begin. I just say your attention getter. Anything that comes before the attention getter just weakens the attention getter. The next part of your introduction is your audience relevance, and this is where you establish for your audience why your topic is important to them, or should be important to them, or is going to make a difference in their lives. The next thing is the credibility, and this is not you stating where you got your sources. You do that through oral citations throughout the speech. Credibility is where you establish why you are a credible speaker on this topic. So why should your audience be listening to you speak on this topic versus somebody else speak on it? There are 2 ways that you can do this. The first is if you have any personal experience with the topic, this would be a great place for you to state that. Also, you could make a statement regarding your interest in the topic and the fact that this interest has caused you to do research. Both of those ways work for establishing your credibility as a speaker on the topic. The next part is, of course, your thesis statement, and this is where you have a concise statement of what you are doing in the speech. It summarizes your speech. It is what you are trying to prove to your audience. And then you have your preview, where you include all of your main points in it. So a brief statement that previews, what you're going to be covering in your main points. Then The conclusion's also similar on all speeches. The first part of the conclusion is you review your main points and thesis statement. So some sort of statement that it doesn't have to be the same exact wording. In fact, usually it's better if it's not. But you do need to review your thesis statement, remind your audience of what you were trying to tell them, what you're trying to convince them of, and then review each of your main points again. And then the last thing that you do is your closing statement. And this should be a very memorable, leaves an impression kind of statement. And much like your intention getter, you really shouldn't say anything after your closing statement. You kind of want to be able to like figuratively drop the mic. The body of your speeches will vary, like I said, depending on the organizational pattern that you choose. So each of the patterns have next to the main point what that main point is supposed to do. So if you are confused about what those are, it really does depend on your organizational pattern. So just shoot me an email and I will try to help you with that. Don't forget to include your transitions. Again, don't delete anything from the outline template. So that is the different parts of the outline. Now let's talk about what is due this week. So what is due Wednesday is your original post of your discussion post 3. And then your persuasive outline is due in the Dropbox. What is due Friday is your first response to another classmate's original post for discussion post 3. Your quiz number 2, which covers the chapters from last week. And then you also need to form groups for your next speech, the group presentation speech. The coming up speech for that is going to be a narrated, informative PowerPoint that you're going to be creating as a group. To form your groups, you need to go to the group presentation discussion thread unit and click on that, and then you will see a group formation thread drop down. You then will post an invitation to form a group, or you can request to join a partially formed group if there's already some people who have started. You can indicate what kind of topics you might be interested in so that you might want to join other people who be sharing that interest. However, there are specific requirements for this topic. Your topics need to be a current social, political, or economic issue. So make sure that the topics that you are proposing fall under that. Each group should have 4 or 5 members, and then once a group is formed, you need to post a message in the discussion thread with all of your group members' names included in the post. Once I see that, I will then create a separate discussion thread with all of your names. That will be where you will communicate with the rest of that assignment. I will go over the specific details for the group presentation assignment next Sunday. So they are available for you to read through under the group presentation unit. But the main thing that you need to do by Friday is make sure that you form a group of 4 to 5 people. So please do not wait to form a group. This makes it very stressful for everybody. I would really jump on that as soon as possible. And then due Sunday is another easy Sunday where only thing that is due is your second response for your discussion post, number 3. So Wednesday is when you turn in your persuasive outline, and as well as post your response, your original post to discussion post 3. Friday is the first response of discussion post 3, quiz number 2, and then the formation of your groups for your group presentation. And then Sunday is your second response to discussion post 3. After this week, the amount of stuff that you will be doing hopefully will drop down a little bit more. You've already come down just a tad. But I hope you have a good week, and if you have any troubles with your persuasive outlines, please send me an email.